What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with the reigning Miss Olympia Derek Lunsford and him switching gyms, especially this close to the show. That just killed all the arguments. That it looks only crazy good because of the lighting in the MI40 gym. Because this update is gonna change your mind even more than before. Because Derek was training chest today, just a little more than 2 weeks out of this year's Miss Olympia. And all I can say is that he is hungrier than ever. He wants to hear that sentence. 2 times Miss Olympia in October. So the chest has been the major point of criticism for him, and his biggest weakness throughout his career. But just looking at him hitting that most muscular, this close to the Olympia, he looks denser overall, a lot grainier as well, and he has also packed on some serious size. And we can see all those deep running fibers that just weren't there last time. Now I have been saying this all along. What if Derek comes in with some drastic improvements compared to last year's Miss Olympia, especially from the front? And even his biggest rivals agree that he has one of the best back in the business at the moment. And no one is touching Derek from the back. So if he brings overall a better package from the front, how is anyone gonna beat him? Plus the fact is he is gonna be one of the most shred guy on that Olympia stage. So Derek is really young and he has got insane aesthetics. The closer he is getting to this year's show, the more hard work of this year's offseason is revealing. So what are your thoughts after watching this update of Derek? Is he gonna repeat in 2.5 weeks' time? Next up, we have an update from Vlad. So kinda disappointed not to see his name on the official competitors list for either France or Legion Sports, as he did make this announcement that he is for sure gonna compete once more before this year's Miss Olympia. But he was also having some visa problems. So this truly sucks, as some of these very good IFB pros, they aren't able to travel and compete in different parts of the world because of the travel restrictions. So the man really looked at his all-time best at this year's Chicago Pro, where he placed a very close second behind Muhammad Fadal. I mean, he was better than Muhammad Fadal from the back, but those aesthetics of Muhammad Fadal, along with the mass that he brought to the stage, that became a decisive factor for his win at that show. Still, it was great to see Vlad with his trademark size and his freak factor, and also that same kind of conditioning that we normally see on his Instagram pictures. So he could have been a great addition to this year's Legion Sports. He is a 2 times Olympian, so he would have been right up there, fighting for the top spot. Now you have got to give credit to Vlad for staying in a crazy condition all year round, and the man always has that humongous size. Next up, we have an update from Quinton Beastwood. Now if you are wondering when Quinton is planning to compete next, well, the answer is not anytime soon. In fact, he isn't even thinking about any competition at the moment. So the plan as of right now, that is to stay lean and keep training extremely hard and heavy, and not to push his weight to those absurd limits of 330 pounds, just the way he used to do in the past. So this year did not go the way Quinton wanted to, especially if you look at this year's New York Pro and how the hype was built around him. And a whole lot of people actually thought that he might give Nick Walker a run for his money. And the main reason for that was just because he took a gap of almost 18 months before stepping back on the stage. And even he himself was expecting that there will be some drastic improvements, especially in terms of his size, because that is what was needed for him. And the results were just extremely disappointing. In fact, as good of a coach as Matt Jensen is, and let's just admit that his clients are always in a top tier conditioning, and they all peak to absolute perfection. But Quinton and Matt Jensen was a total failed project. And actually we did saw how Quinton was able to make a strong comeback for this year's Toronto Pro compared to what we saw from the New York Pro, and he placed second at that show. So with this kind of wild structure and the kind of aesthetics that Quinton has, he needs to be big and full on the stage in order to really stand out, and that is what we saw in Toronto. Now if everything goes well, this guy's name is definitely gonna be on the Olympia list in 2025. Look at that hard, dry and grainy look of Ramon Dino, just 2 weeks out of this year's Miss Olympia, the 4th Olympia of Ramon's career. And there is just every reason to believe that this will be Ramon's all-time best, and that too by quite some margin. Now his coach Chris Aceto, he has a strong belief that Ramon is the one who can dethrone Chris Bumstead, and that too this year. And why shouldn't Ramon and his team feel that way? I mean, they should be this confident, as he is the only one who has pushed C-Bomb extremely damn hard. And we saw that at last year's Miss Olympia. And Chris Aceto has pushed Ramon Dino really hard in this prep. 22 weeks of grueling prep, which is about to end in 2 weeks' time. So Ramon himself has made all these sacrifices to go that extra mile just to be a few percent better. And who knows, maybe that few percent, that can make the biggest difference. That can be the game changer on the Olympia stage. So it wasn't until last year's Miss Olympia, when Ramon stood next to C-Bomb, when people actually saw to believe that C-Bomb isn't exactly unbeatable. And all the indicators point that Ramon Dino is 100% gonna be a lot better than what we saw at the Olympia last year. He looks bigger, harder, drier, and his skull face is looking really damn scary. So I believe he is gonna be absolutely peeled to the bone. Next up, we have an update from Andrew Jacked. So Chris Lewis aka Psycho Fitness and Andrew hit that 3 weeks out mark in their latest YouTube video. And Psycho Fitness is so satisfied with how Andrew is looking at the moment.
Andrew he's your favorite bodybuilder's bodybuilder.
And they aren't gonna be doing any drop sets or supersets from this point onwards to keep Andrew's body all fresh.
We can't do drop sets anymore. He's totally where he needs to be. So we gotta try to preserve as much muscle as possible.
So with his coach Chris Aceto claiming that Andrew has all the tools to dominate this year's Olympia lineup, Psycho Fitness on the other hand, he has sort of a different perspective. He just wants Andrew Jacked to show up at his all-time best, which means better than Texas Pro this year.
My goal is to have Andrew beat his best look. Andrew is only in competition with Andrew.
And I tell you what, if he can top that look, he is gonna be a problem for everyone, and he will be fighting for this year's Olympia title. Because people were even a bit scared of Andrew's Texas Pro 2023 look, which by the way was last year. And he absolutely smoked that physique at this year's Texas. He had bigger quads, bigger arms, more V-taper, thicker and denser back, wider lats. All he needs is a little more separation in the hamstrings and the game is gonna be on. Now, Andrew we already know is a genetic phenomenon. We rarely see a bodybuilder with such long limbs and such great muscle bellies. Plus, he is over 6 feet tall, which is just another great advantage for him. Now, as a great fan of his physique, I wish he can have the longevity of Dexter Jackson. And he is about to turn 40 years old. So let's just hope that he can just continue to get better for another 4 to 5 years.
But one thing I do want to mention, you guys, I will be your 2-time Mr. Olympia. And still.
That's what we like to hear from the winning 212 champ, Keone Pearson. There could not have been a better ending to his latest YouTube video. So cannot believe that just a few years ago, Keone was making all these statements that he is gonna retire when he turns 30. And you ask him now, what are his intentions for the future? So first he wants to win a few more 212 titles and just absolutely dominate this division. And eventually, he will switch over to the men's open bodybuilding because that is where he belongs. And he wants to end his career in that division.
I'm better than last year, and I know that me being better is giving me the more drive to push even harder.
So not only has Keone's physique evolved over the years, he has got a lot of mental maturity and clarity now, which is just bad news for all of his competition. Because even in the past, everyone just knew that the moment Keone dedicates 100% to bodybuilding, he is just gonna be unstoppable from that point onwards. And personally, I thought Sean was gonna win in 2023, and Keone will be second. But Keone closed that gap at such a fast pace, and that was enough to lift that trophy and be a 212 Olympia champion. So will the promoters of the Arnold Classic invite Keone Pearson to compete in the men's open bodybuilding in 2025? So Keone is on the record saying that he will for sure do that if he is given the opportunity. I mean, $500,000. That is just another reason to do that. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.